What is good, YouTube? It is Rick the Foxes here, and I've got a deck profile for what is my final build for Dragon Ruler, because my regional, the Frederick, Maryland regional, is this Sunday, which is 3 days from now, and I've spent all format just working on this deck and getting it to perform at the most optimal way, and all my work's paid off. I think this build can't possibly get any better than it already is. So yeah, let's get into it. This is all my hard work. So there's 22 monsters in there: 3 Blaster, 3 Redox, 3 Tempest, and 3 Tidal. And then we got 2 Debris Dragon, 2 Dragoonity Corseska, 3 Maxi, 1 Scarecrow. I opted for 1 over 2 just because it's nice, but it's not the best thing to have. And I just needed the space, so I just cut it down to 1. I was siding a second one for a while, but then I felt there weren't a lot, like the only matchup where I was like absolutely gonna side it in was against Hieratic, and I honestly feel like I don't need it. So only 1 Scarecrow and Trigon, just absolutely amazing. And Flame Guard. No Dandelion, no Card Trooper or anything. Just Dandelion feels a little too situational, and especially because you can't search it really. And Card Trooper is just Crimson Blader bait. And for spells, there are 13. They are 2 cards of Consonance. I did take this out initially for Castle of Dragon Souls. More I tested, the more I found that my opening plays just were really, really poor, which as a result made the rest of the game really poor for me. And I felt like I need the speed and consistency of cards of Consonance, so I threw 2 of them back in and took Castle of Dragon Souls out because more often than not it wasn't helping as much as I'd want it to. It's like it was only really helpful in OTKs, and the more I focus on OTKs, the less consistent the deck becomes. So, cards of Consonance back in. 3 Dragon Ravine, 3 MST, 3 Sacred Sword. For a while I was considering cutting this to 2 because just opening or just having more than 1 at the same time is not the best because you can only activate 1 per turn, but just opening it with it is just too important, and if you cut out 1 of them, your chances of opening it just drop dramatically. So 3 is needed, and then 2 Terraforming just because you really want to open with Ravine, and just Terraforming optimizes the mana chances. Like between Terraforming, Sacred Sword, Cards of Consonance, and the Ravines itself, you will almost always open with Ravine. Like there are very few games where I don't get Ravine, and it just optimizes that chance, and it also optimizes the Ancient Fairy Dragon combo. So yeah, and then 5 traps, 2 Phoenix Wing, 1 Blast, 1 Return from a Different Dimension, and 2 Vanity's Emptiness. So yeah. Extra deck is 2 Dragosack, 1 Big Eye. I honestly feel like I don't need a second one, even though I do have access to one. It's just, it's nice, really powerful, but for one, I don't really summon it a lot anyway, and even after I do summon it, the fact that it's dark means I can't really use it for anything else. So I feel more than 1's unnecessary. If I were to get a second one, I guess I would use it, and I'd just drop Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, which I'm also running, just because he's good if I'm facing an opposing Dragosack, but that's about it. But, yeah. And Master of Blades. Originally used this as filler for the second Big Eye. The more I used it, the more I ended up loving it. Just because if you're facing something like just that targets a lot like Constellar or even Blackwing because they have Icarus attack, just Master of Blades, while it's not unbeatable, it forces them to think. Like, because Blackwing pretty much has to waste Collude because like Mirror Force isn't as common anymore, and Torrential's at 1. So like it forces their Colutes, and then against Constellar, it forces their it forces them to make Pridestep instead of Pleiades. So just forcing them to make plays that they don't like want to or don't have to or just not optimal is enough for me to run Master Blaze. And to boot, it's an Earth. I wouldn't make it in the mirror match just because it dies to Crimson Blader. So yeah, I think Master Blaze is horribly underrated. So yeah, and then even against Evil Swarm, it's like it's just all that back row is you just feel a lot safer because like it can't die to Compulse, it doesn't die to Dimensional Prison, it can't be targeted by Phoenix Chain or Book of Moon. Really, the only things that can stop it are Bottomless, Solemn, Torrential, and Mirror Force if you even like see that. So it's like really just Bottomless, Solemn, and Torrential. So yeah. And then for the Synchros, we got Star Eater. Star Eater. Colossal Fighter. 2 Crimson Blader. In case the first one dies, you got the second one. Scrap Dragon. Stardust Dragon. I'm starting to realize just how powerful it is to open with Stardust and then set Phoenix Wing or Vanity's Emptiness. Like, obviously, it's not as good as like doing Stardust Spark, which isn't out yet, but if I open with Stardust and set Emptiness, if they try to special summon, I flip the Emptiness, and then if they try to destroy my face down with like a blind MST, then I just chain the Stardust to negate and destroy it. And then if the Crimson, like either way, it's like either they're not getting Crimson Blader, or even if they do get Crimson Blader, Stardust off the field so I don't fall to it. So I think Stardust is pretty good. And then 2 Ancient Fairy Dragon. Really the reason I'm running 2 is because of that combo that Billy Brake mentioned in his article, which is if you open a Ravine, or in my case, Terraforming in Ravine. So if you open Ravine, Debris Dragon, and 2 Dragon Rulers, and this can also, like from my testing, this can also possibly work with 1. So it's a 3 to 4 card combo that's situational but extremely powerful when it goes off, which is you can look at this article about it because it's really like long and in-depth, but pretty much it ends with 2 Dragosacks on the board, or depending on matchup, Dragosack Master of Blades or whatever. It's an incredibly powerful like opening play. And it does fall to max C, but at that point you just sit on the Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is 3,000 defense. So it's just a powerful play. So why not have the opportunity to do it? And then Ancient Fairy Dragon, there are times where I make the first one and it dies, and I feel like the second one, like having it again, would be optimal. And then because of 2 Ancient Fairy, I only run 1 Black Rose. I've only run into 1 situation where I've wanted to make 2 anyway. So 1, and then Iron Chain Dragon, which I've actually summoned 1 or 2 times. Although the second time that was a misplay on my part, it wasn't the best choice. The first time it did help though. So Iron Chain's just there because in case I need it. And the side deck. This was probably the thing that changed the most because I wanted to get the most optimal side deck, and I ended up going for something that's generic but still powerful. Just like 8 different cards that are extremely powerful, that aren't like insanely powerful, but still very powerful in several different matchups. And I run 7 of them. I run at 2, and then the last one I run 1 of. So they are 2 DD Crow. This is for the mirror match, for Dragoonity, and just anything that focuses on the graveyard. 2 Morphing Jar number 2. I initially put in 3 of these as filler for Xyz Encore because I didn't have it. The more I played it, the more I realized that I like it a lot regardless of Xyz Encore, because Xyz Encore really only helps against Evil Swarm, and I guess it also helps against Constellar because Pleiades is their main monster. But Morphing Jar, I can use this against Evil Swarm, and there's nothing they can do about it. I can use this against Blackwing if they manage to get like a powerful Synchro or like Master Key Beetle. I can use it against Bujin or just anything that just like focuses on monsters on the field. I can use Morphing Jar and put them all back. And it's just so powerful. I can even use this against Karakuri Giriya, because if I'm facing down like a field of monsters and I survive, then I can set the Morphing Jar. If they attack it, they lose all their monsters. If they target it with Beret, it flips up, its effect activates, they lose all their monsters. So it's a win-win either way. So I really like Morphing Jar number 2. I did feel that 3 was too cloggy because I was seeing it too much, so I dropped it down to 2. This problem I also had with another card inside that I dropped to 2 when I was running 3. But yeah, Morphing Jar number 2. I do have 1 Xyz Encore for now. I'm borrowing it from a friend of mine. And I do keep it just because it helps against Evil Swarm and Constellar. So yeah, I honestly feel like I wouldn't use more than 1 though. And then 2 DNA Surgery. This is mainly for Spellbook and Bujin. I considered against Dragoonity, but I felt like there's better choices because like I generally don't like signing out more than 6 cards. In some cases, I will go for 7. Uh, the one exception is Bujin, just because for whatever reason it just has such a good matchup against Dragon Ruler that I actually side in 10 to 11 cards for it. So, but outside of that, I generally don't side out more than 6. If it's a special summon heavy deck, I side out the Cards of Consonance, the Terraformings, the Corseska, and the Scarecrow. And then if it's not a special summon heavy deck, I side out the 3 Maxi, the Scarecrow, and the Vanity's Emptiness. So, yeah. And then in the rare case, if I needed to side something else out, like if I needed to side out 7 cards, I'd side out 1 Sacred Sword. So, pretty much, DNA Surgery is mainly for Spellbook and Bujin. And I considered against Dragoonity, but decided not to. And it just shuts down those decks, and it just makes them so they literally just can't do anything. So I did feel this was the other one that I tried at 3, and it was just too cloggy, so I dropped it to 2. And then Debunk, Mirror Match, not Blackwing because it's only Colute. Mirror Match, Mermail, just anything that works with things in the hand. Bujin, just so much. Now this is a big one. 2 Dust Tornado. Funny thing is, ironically, I only sided in the first one because I had room for 1 more card, and I honestly didn't know what to put in. So I just said, screw it, I'll try Dust Tornado. In testing, not only did it perform better than I thought it would, it performed so well that I put in the second one because I wanted to see it more often. I feel Dust Tornado is amazing. The reason for this is just games 2 and 3 are just inherently slower, and there's a lot of back row that can just screw you up, just between like Iron Wall, Goes and Match, Soul Drain, and just all of that. And then even in mirror matches, this stops like Ravines or like Towers if you're facing Spellbook, or Black Whirlwinds, or just any. There's so many continuous cards that are just so good, and it's like it's effectively 2 extra MSTs. It's like if there's so much back row you want to deal with, why would you not run 5 Mystical Space Typhoons? It's just this has saved me so many games, and it's just Dust Tornado is great. I was also considering Twister because it's faster, but I like the versatility that Dust Tornado has because it can also hit face down cards. So yeah, that's why I like this over Twister or Wild Tornado, and it's shiny, so that's important. And then 2 Mind Crush is another card I feel is horribly underrated. Just stops Spellbook, Bujin, Fire Fist, Mermail, just anything that searches or reveals things in their hand. Mind Crush just deals with. Even Dragoonity, if they search off ducks and then you play Mind Crush, you call ducks, and it just shuts them down for the turn. And then 2 Skill Drain just for the matchups that can that are hurt by mainly Constellar and Evils. In testing, I realized I did not have a lot that I would side against Constellar, and they're a bit of a nuisance. Proof being they won the second ARG. So I felt like just having this mainly for Constellar, but it also helps against other matchups is important. So yeah, that's the entire side deck. That's the entire deck in general. I honestly don't see it getting much better. So pretty much comes down to, do I know the deck well enough to actually top another regional? And we'll see where it goes. So after this regional, I can probably start doing other videos. So yeah, thanks for watching YouTube, and I'll see you next time. Deuces.